first of all, I do apologize the fact that I actually didn't do a preview for this match week, and I believe this is the first time since I began doing this last year that I actually did not do a preview for the match week. And the reason why I didn't do it is because I did went to watch my old high school football team play, and that, besides doing MLS stuff, I'm actually very passionate in terms of high school football and especially supporting my team. So I kind of went a little bit overboard in terms of cheering, and that my voice was completely gone after the game, and that there was just no way in the world I was able to do the preview. And I already was pretty late in terms of doing the preview, considering the fact that the last couple of days has been very, very busy for me, and that I couldn't do it on Thursday because I had to do a volunteering thing late at night on Thursday, and I didn't get home until 1 in the morning. But with that being said, let's talk about the review and look at what happened in these 12 games. And actually, this is the second thing that I'm going to get to in terms of this video, and that just like last week, I am going to split the review into 2 parts, and that I'm actually not going to look at the 12 games that happened this week, but I'm actually going to look at the first 6 games that's going to happen last week, because like last week, we have games that doesn't end until 9:30 my time on Sunday, and it must really sucks for people in the East Coast, the fact that, the final game of the match week doesn't end until 12:30 in the morning. Although this week is a little bit more forgiving because tomorrow is Labor Day, and I'm pretty sure there are a couple of people that don't have to work on Labor Day. Obviously, I don't have to go to school on Labor Day, which is also why I'm going to do the review tomorrow instead of later tonight, because later tonight I'm going to be doing another Sports Hop series, and I'm going to be doing some ground hop again. So it's a busy time this week for me, and that, I'm trying to balance this schedule as best as possible, but obviously it's not easy when you have so much thing that is going on right now. But with that being said, let's actually get into it, since I spent 2 minutes kind of making some announcement about why I didn't do the preview and also what I'm gonna do with the review this week. And we start off this week with probably the biggest surprising result of this week, with the Rapids winning 2-0 against the Red Bulls. Now, I know whenever Colorado wins on the road, I say that it's a pretty big surprising result, and I know the Rapids have definitely been better this year. I shouldn't be saying that it's a very surprising kind of result, but like I said, they won on the road, which doesn't usually happen very often. And I guess the reason why they won this game is because, how whenever there's a new coach that comes into a team, and how that always tends to energize the team, and that really just give an extra motivation for the players to really play well so that they can leave a good first impression for the new coach. Well, that's what the Rapids did in this game. And Jonathan Lewis definitely had left a very good first impression for Robin Fraser, because he scored both of the goal in this game, and that he scored his first of 2 in the 14th minute when he scored to give the Rapids a 1-0 lead. And what's interesting about this goal was literally about 30 seconds after Lewis gave the Rapids a 1-0 lead, the Red Bulls were this close to potentially getting the opening goal, and that BWP actually hit the post, and then on the transitional attack, the Red Bulls just concede on the other end, and that the Rapids basically score on the other end. I mean, that is why football is a crazy sport. I mean, there is one time when you think that you, of course, are about to score, and then the very next moment, you, of course, concede a goal, and that is exactly what happened in this instant. Now, in the second half, once again, the Rapids had multiple chances to score the second goal. Although, the Red Bulls did had a couple chances early on in the second half to get the equalizer. I thought the Rapids were by far the better team in the second half, and that if it wasn't for Luis Robles, this game would have been put away very early, and that this could have been at least 3 or 4-0 in favor of the Rapids. But eventually the Rapids did put the game away when, once again, Jonathan Lewis scored from Diego Rubio to give them a 2-0 lead, and that goal, of course, gives the Rapids only the second win this season on the road, and it is the first Rapids win under new manager Robin Fraser. In terms of shots in this game, the Red Bulls had 19 shots compared to 12 that the Rapids had, 4 shots on goal compared to 6 that the Rapids had, 10 shots off target compared to 5 that the Rapids had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Rapids had, and possession-wise, 60% possession that the Red Bulls had compared to 40% possession that the Rapids had. And, as I seen this before, where whenever, I don't want to say Robin Fraser has immediately worked magic with this Rapids team, because this is only one game, and I know it's a big road win against a Red Bulls team that is doing okay this season, and that they are a team that is in the playoffs right now. But I don't want to say that he's immediately made an impact, because we've seen so many times when a new manager comes in and they get a first big win and everybody kind of got hyped the fact that he could be the next best thing, and then of course the next couple of games things could either go very well or it can go very badly. So the verdict is still on Robin Fraser whether or not if he's could be a decent fit, but he certainly got off to a great start with this victory that he gave the Rapids on the road against the Red Bulls. And as for the Red Bulls, yeah, this is a big L that they suffer, and that this is not the first time this season that they have dropped points and or lose against a team that they should be beating at home, and that this season at home they had just no. This is very unlike Red Bull with the way that they have just lost so many home games this season, and that this is really the reason why they are in the middle of the pack in terms of the playoffs. And that, if they of course continue like this, I think they probably won't get a home playoff game, which I guess they don't mind, because it seemed like this season they tends to play better on the road than they do at home. But at some point, these kind of performance is absolutely inexcusable, and that this kind of performance is not going to cut it in terms of trying to potentially go deep into the playoffs. But moving on into the next game is Columbus. So Columbus drew 1-1 against the Chicago Fire in this game, and that in the first half there was chances for both teams to potentially score a goal, but it was Columbus that got the early goal in the 27th minute. And how about Pedro Santos, who it seemed like every week he is just scoring bangers, and that he scored a banger in this game with him scoring from Agado to give them a 1-0 lead. I also put goal of the week question mark, because it was a very lovely goal that he scored from about 29 yards out. And then in the second half, both teams once again had chances to score the next goal, and that, as the game goes on, it looked like the Columbus was going to get a big 1-0 victory, and that this was going to be a very bad loss for the Chicago Fire. The good news is they did get the equalizer in the 94th minute when Przemysław Frankowski scored from Kataj and Mihailovic to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And then in the latter part of the game, there was some frantic stuff that happened in this game. I mean, Chicago had a chance to potentially get the second goal after when they got the equalizer, and then literally on the other end, Columbus just go on the other end and almost had a chance to get the late winner too. I mean, it kind of summarized how this game was, where it was relatively even, and I think, a draw in this game would definitely be fair for both of these teams. But for Chicago, a draw in this game clearly is not good enough. And I just think that, with them playing the most game in the Eastern Conference, and that they're still 4 points back of the last playoff spot that TFC owns, I don't know if I don't know if it's really too late now for them to make the playoffs, and that unless if they can continue if they can go on a perfect run for these last 4 games that they have this season, I just think that they could definitely be looking at the outside out in terms of making the playoffs, and that there's definitely going to be some big decision heading into the offseason and of what exactly Chicago is going to do. Remember, Veljko Paunovic, his contract is going to run out this year, so there is no question whether or not his question with this team is still in doubt, and that there is no doubt in my mind that a lot of people think that he would be gone by the end of the year, but there's still a question mark in terms of him. But yeah, this was a game that they need to win, considering the fact that they are, if they're going to make a playoff run, they need to start getting 3 points in some of these games, which they couldn't do. And as for Columbus, it's disappointing that they didn't get all 3 points in this game, but at this point, I think they're just kind of playing for the future, and that this game is a good step forward in terms of the future, and that I think I definitely see some good things that happen with this Columbus team, and that it seemed like the defending for Columbus in this game has been much better, which is something that is just kind of defines what this Crew team. I mean, this Crew team is a team that doesn't score a lot of goals, but they also do a very good job in the defensive end. And also, they look like they might have found their next Zach Steffen in Eloy Room, who has just been very good ever since he has come in with Columbus. Now, in terms of the shots in this game, like I said, it was a relatively even game, and that goes the same with the shots. With 16 shots compared to 20 that Chicago had, 7 shots on goal compared to 6 that Chicago has, 6 shots off target compared to 9 that the Fire has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Columbus has. Now, moving on into the next match, and boy, do DC need this win badly. So, they of course got a 3-0 win against Montreal, and really the difference in this game only was in this 12-minute spell when between minute 20 and minute 32 is when DC score all their goals. But before that, Montreal looked like they potentially could have got the first goal, as they had a lot of chances in this game. And keep in mind, a lot of chances is really the story of this game with Montreal, as I would tell you in the second half. They also had a lot of chances to score, even though they were down 3-0. But unfortunately, they weren't being very clinical, and that later I will also tell you that despite the fact that they have a lot of shots in this game, there wasn't very many shots that actually was towards shots on goal. But going back to what I said, how 12 minutes in this game really defines DC in terms of winning this. Well, their 12-minute span, as I said, happened between the 20th and the 32nd minute. And that in the 20th minute, Kamara scores the opening goal of this game to give DC a 1-0 lead. Then Arriola follows suit by scoring the second 3 minutes later, before Kamara scoring his second goal from Brian and Felipe to give DC a 3-0 lead. And yeah, that was really the difference for DC, as DC, despite the fact that they didn't really had a lot of chances in this game, and that they only had like 7 shots in this game and 4 shots on goal and only 2 shots off target compared to 1 and 1 that was blocked in this game. Those 3 shots on goal that between the minute 20th and minute 32 was really the difference in this game. And that, like I said, with Montreal, they had 24 shots in this game, which is a lot, but they only had 4 shots on goal, and that 2 of them was actually I wrote this wrong. It's not 2 shots on target. I think it's like they had like around actually, let me take a look on the stats, because I wrote this wrong when I put this. I actually put like around this. When I wrote this, I actually accidentally put like the same amount of shots and same amount of shots off target as what DC had, but they actually didn't have like 4 shots on goal in this. But either way, they didn't have a lot of shots on goal in this, and that how many times we have seen this season when, despite a team that had a lot of shots in a game and that they're basically shooting from everywhere, as long as if you do not have a lot of shots on goal, and as long as if you're not being very clinical in front of goal, then you are not going to win the game, and that most likely you're probably not gonna score a goal in a game, which is what the Impact did in this one. As I'm gonna just open up MLS Soccer right now just to take a look at the stats again. Okay, here it is. So they actually had 4 shots on goal compared to 4 that DC had, and that they actually had 8 shots that was off target compared to 2 that DC had, and they had 12 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that DC had. So, not only they had a lot of shots in this game, but they also had a lot of shots that was blocked, and that basically tells me is that they definitely do not really had a lot of chances, because most time when those shots are blocked, it means that it's going to go nowhere toward goal, and that DC did a very good job in terms of trying to defend and trying to not let Montreal, in terms of trying to put one into the back of the net. But moving on into the next match is New England. So New England, they were on the draw of getting their first defeat since they lost to LAFC at home against TFC, but fortunately they were able to rescue a draw in this game against TFC, and that in the first half there wasn't really anything that happened. I mean, there was a couple of half chances for both teams to potentially score the first goal, but nobody, of course, scored in the first half. And then in the second half, TFC took the lead in the 74th minute when Benazet scores his first ever goal in MLS to give TFC a 1-0 lead. And just as you think that TFC was going to get a huge 3 points that will give them massive playoff boost in terms of them making the playoffs, they concede in the 86th minute, and this is definitely not a very good goal to concede, and I have a feeling the Toronto goalkeeper, Quentin Westberg, would have nightmares about this goal that he conceded, because Gustavo Bo, of course, scores for Gunness, and we know whenever Gustavo Bo scores a goal, it's usually a very good goal that he scored. But in this instant, he basically just put kind of a low shot that actually bounced off the turf once as it was direct toward goal, and that, I thought for sure that Westberg was gonna just grapple to that one and that's an easy save, but apparently when he was trying to gather that one, it just went straight through his hands and it goes into the back of the net. I mean, that was just a shocking goalkeeping howler from Quentin Westberg and from TFC. And yeah, that goal, of course, cost TFC 3 points in this game. And that this is not the first time we've seen this season where TFC had a chance to get all 3 points in the game, and yet they blew it because they made either their goalkeeper made a bad mistake or they have some defensive prolapse late in the game. And in terms of the shots in this game, 16 shots compared to 13 that TFC had, 5 shots on goal compared to 6 that TFC had, 9 shots off target compared to 4 that TFC had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that TFC had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% that TFC had. And that for TFC, yes, the good news is they're now above the red line after Montreal, of course, lost, and that they have 2 games in hand over Montreal, and I also think they have 1 game in hand over Orlando City in terms of the games in hand that they have on teams that is below them in the red line. But you just had a feeling that this is 2-point drop more than a point gain against New England, and I know New England has been very good lately at home, and that they have been very good ever since Bruce Arena took over this team. You just think the fact that they conceded that goal late in the game and that they had a chance to get a 3-point gap over Montreal with games in hand, that is a bit missed opportunity that they had in this game. And I also think that, for TFC, even if this team does make the playoffs, which it seemed like with what you've seen with these teams that is chasing for those last couple of spots of the playoffs, and that TFC look like they are the favorites to potentially get that spot, I don't know if TFC is going to last very long in the playoffs, because this team just doesn't look like a team that I think could actually make a deep run. I mean, they definitely have the talent to potentially make the deep run, but it just feels like some of those talent that they have some of the talent that they have had in this team is just kind of underperforming. I mean, Alejandro Pozuelo, a guy that they thought could be the guy that replaces Sebastian Javinko in this team, has really just fall off a cliff after he really started very well with this team, and that I haven't really mentioned his name for a while now, and I just wonder what is going on with him and why has he just struggled so much in these last couple of games. But moving on into the next match is the game of the week. So this is the game of the week because this was a matchup between the top 2 team in the Eastern Conference, and in the battle for the top spot in the Eastern Conference, it was the Union that emerged as the victorious team and get their first place back in this game as they beat Atlanta 3-1 in this one. And coming into this game, I kind of had a feeling that Philly was going to be favorites in this game, not only because they're played at home in this game against an Atlanta team that has just not been very good on the road, but knowing the fact that Atlanta, they just come off of a US Open Cup win, and that whenever you win a trophy, can you definitely could have a big letdown heading into the next game, especially that next game only takes place 3 days after you won a trophy. And that Atlanta, this month they have played a lot of games, and that it just feels like eventually that fatigue is going to caught up to this team, which it definitely did in this game in the second half. But in the first half, Atlanta actually looked like they were the better team, and that they looked very sharp in the first half and potentially going to get that first goal. But it was actually the Union that looked like they got the first goal and went up 1-0 in the 31st minute when Shipilko basically puts that ball into the back of the net from Fabian. But they look at VAR in terms of that goal, and it turns out that they found that Fabian, on the development of the play, was actually in an offside position as he was flicked that ball to Shipilko that basically puts that ball into the back of the net, and hence that's why that goal was offside. And the reason why here I wrote, but VAR disallowed it as there apparently was an offside leading up to the goal. And, I want to highlight apparently because when I look on VAR, that definitely didn't look like Fabian was in an offside position. If anything, he was really level with the last Atlanta's defense. And keep in mind, originally the decision of this call was that the goal was given to the Union, and Shipilko, of course, give the Union a 1-0 lead at that point. So to overturn that call, it has to be clear and obvious that Fabian was in an offside position. And like I said, when I look on the replay, it definitely did not look clear and obvious, but yet this one, of course, was overturned. And that this is also another example of how inconsistent and how this is probably the wrong decision by VAR in terms of overruling this goal that the Union scored. And that Atlanta kind of took advantage of that with them staying at 0-0, and that eventually they did get the opening goal right before halftime when guess who? Joseph Martinez scores from Darlington Nagbe, which means that this is the 13th straight game that he has scored a goal for Atlanta, and that he's actually, there's been now talks of the fact that he could potentially catch Messi's record in terms of 21 straight game with a goal, and that I think Messi did that back in 2011. It's possible that he could catch Messi's record, but is it most likely that is going to happen? I don't know. He still need to score a goal in 8 more games if you want to match Messi's record. And that as much as I know Joseph Martinez is probably in his best form of his life and that he's basically an automatic goal scorer right now, it doesn't take a lot for one bad game that Joseph Martinez had and that run could potentially come to an end. I mean, we've seen so far in this league that as much as we wow at such a streak that has happened, like what Joseph Martinez is doing right now, eventually it does have to come to an end, and that it could come to an end in an unsurprising way with maybe him having a bad game against a bad team, and that his streak, of course, comes to an end. Now, I'm not saying that I want the streak to come to an end. It'll be interesting to see whether or not if he can continue to match that. But just to let you know that, this is something we have never seen in MLS before, and that from what I'm seeing with players that do something that I have never seen in MLS before and trying to match a world record that is held by one of the best player in the world, yeah, that usually does not happen. But we shall see if that, of course, is the case. But in the second half, the Union, of course, did finally get the goal that they were disallowed early on and got the equalizer, and that they got the equalizer right at the hour mark when Brendan Aronson scored from Medunian to tie the game up at 1 apiece. And then after that, it looked like Atlanta just ran out of gas. And as I said before, Atlanta has played a lot of games during this month, and that I believe this is the 8th game that they have played during August, which that is a lot of game you have to play in a single calendar month. That's like almost averaging or averaging 1 game in every 3 day, and that Atlanta was basically playing almost every like like game in a 3 day span and almost playing like a midweek every single week. So fatigue kind of really caught on to this team, and Philly of course took advantage of that fatigue when they of course got the opener, or not the opener, but the go ahead goal with Shibilko, who his goal early on was disallowed. This time was counted as he scores from Santos and Wagner to give the Union a 2-1 lead. Then Santos himself scored from Shibilko and Elzinho to close the door in this game. And yeah, the Union of course win 3-1 in this game. And in terms of shots in this game, 11 shots compared to 14 that Atlanta has, 6 shots on goal compared to 4 that Atlanta has, 3 shots off target compared to 6 that Atlanta has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Atlanta has, and possession wise, 45% possession compared to 55% possession that Atlanta has. And also, I didn't put it down here, but Philly with this win not only get themselves back above or back being the first place team in the Eastern Conference, but now they have officially become the first team in the Eastern Conference to clinch a playoff spot. Now, the good news for Atlanta, despite the fact that they of course dropped down to second place, is that they do have 2 games in hand over the Union, and it's only a 1-point gap between both of these teams. So if Atlanta of course win those games in hand, they of course can get themselves back above the Eastern Conference. And I have a feeling Atlanta really need to be at the top of the Eastern Conference and want to have pretty much every single home game until the MLS Cup final to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, because this team just doesn't do very well on the road, and that this is another game that is an example of the struggle that they have been on the road. Although I will give them a pass in this game, considering the fact that they play a lot of games and that they're coming off of a win that give them a trophy, which could be a little bit of letdown for a team that has to play 3 days later, and the fact that they were playing the best team in the Eastern Conference. So, no shame of Atlanta losing this one. I have a feeling once they, of course, since the international break is this week, and that once they, of course, recharge their battery, this can be a very dangerous team heading into the final stretch of the season. But moving on into the next game. So from one team that got clinched their playoff spot, one team that clinched their playoff spot, to a team that got eliminated from the playoffs and become the first team ever to be eliminated from the playoffs. And hence, this is why I wear the FC Cincinnati jersey today, because this is just me kind of paying respect to FC Cincinnati in terms of the fact that, yeah, they are unfortunately the first team to be eliminated this season, and that they will officially not make the playoffs at the end of the season, and that they of course got eliminated because they lost 3-1 to Dallas in this game. And Dallas, I'll tell you what, in these last couple of games, remember how I said Dallas is one of those teams that tends to struggle in terms of goal scoring? Yeah, in these last couple of games, it definitely does not seem like that, because they once again scored more than 2 goals and had a multi-goal game in this one, and that their goal scoring spree started in the 12th minute when Ryan Hollinshead scores from Odranska to give Dallas a 1-0 lead. Then in the second half, Barrios doubles that lead from Ferreira to give them a 2-0 lead. Before in the 51st minute, it would be 3-0 FC Dallas, as Odranska, also known as the Cobra, scores the 3rd goal for Dallas, and that was really pretty much game, set, and match in this one. Cincinnati did get a consolation goal in the 64th minute when Ledesma puts away a penalty, but they also got a man sent off in the 75th minute when Kekuta Mane feel like he had enough of this season, and that he's very frustrated that his team is going to be the first team to be eliminated in the playoffs. So he decided to basically just decided to put his hands on in the face of one of the Dallas player. And whenever you decided to put your hands in the face of an opponent, that is an automatic red card. And I have a feeling Mane is not only going to get fined for violating the league policy of hands to the face, but he's probably going to get more than a game suspension in terms of violating the league policy of hands to the face. So yeah, that of course was the final score of this game. As the shots in this game, 17 shots compared to 7 that Cincinnati has, 8 shots on goal compared to 2 that Cincinnati has, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that FC Cincinnati has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that FC Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession that Cincinnati has. And for Dallas, it's a big win for them to keep pace with teams that is around them that have won this weekend in terms of that very tight playoff race that is going on in the Western Conference. And as for FC Cincinnati, like I said, they become the first MLS team this season to be eliminated from the playoffs. And that, for those of you wondering, am I going to be doing a moving forward kind of series like what I did last year with teams that got eliminated, and then immediately did a moving forward, talk about what their future is, and talk about just kind of like a season review of their season that they have been have. Yes, I am going to be doing a moving forward series, and that I think I will do a moving forward series for FC Cincinnati on Tuesday, and talk about what went right, what went wrong, and most importantly, moving forward for them heading into next season. But yeah, either way guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Part 2 is going to be coming out tomorrow, where I look at the last 6 games of this match week. And yeah, I hope to see you guys next time.